Now let's talk about what is social media for Web3. I want to talk about it from two perspectives. One, of course, is the functionality or the technical perspective, right? Right. What are the actual like value add-ons for the users? But secondly, like philosophically, what does this mean for Web3 users? What are the actual different meaning, right, between Web2 and Web3 social media?
I would say the ethos. I don't mean we're still figuring it out what Web3 social media is going to look like, but I think I would relate it back to this thing that we were talking about before with different incentive mechanisms, and one of the incentive mechanisms being money, but another incentive mechanism that I think we're seeing in Web2 social media is basically like dopamine-driven page views. And I think one of the things that we're going to see in Web3 is like a more longer term horizon in how we optimize which people will engage with it. So instead of trying to, force one more click on a person, it'll be Web3 social media will be more about like long-term growth and long-term health than we've seen in sort of like the Web2 stuff. And of course, this is going to be powered by advances in technology. But I think sort of at the high level, that's one of the things that people are becoming disenchanted with around Web2 social media. And one of the things that I would suspect there might be like this underlying desire for, you have a goal to learn a new language, to get healthier, to learn how to program, to travel more, to develop deeper relationships with other people. And a lot of like social media apps that we see today aren't really fulfilling that need for people. Whereas some of the newer ones like Strava are helping people to sort of achieve goals that they're in. We can talk more about it, but I'll let Chris talk.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't have too many like kind of big thoughts on social media. My initial reaction is that I feel like whatever Web3 social media will be, we won't use that word. I think that word feels very just like legacy in a bit. And I think it will be something new. And I don't know what it is. But the thing which I'm really interested in or like really bullish on or like building on is owning your own identity. And that's a big part of what we're building with Console. But we're also just using existing identity contracts. So for example, like ENS, is like a .eth name, right? If you have that, there's a certifiable ownership over that name, right? I'm Castig.eth. And it's the same as if I were to own like Instagram.com. It's like a domain name for my identity. And I think that's a really important part of social media today, is that it's really centered around people and it's centered around connections with people. The only thing is like those connections are like in a walled garden is like the term that often gets used in academia. They're like walled into like Facebook. They're walled into whatever, the different sites. And so opening those up, is really the dream. And if you go back to like the beginning of the way Zuckerberg talked about Facebook, like originally he took a lot of those promises or ideals of like, it was called the open graph was the name for the social graph of Facebook. And it was all about like openness and APIs. And like, that was where it started. And where we are today is it actually, that never really happened. So it's fairly closed still within Facebook's world. So I think to me, identity is like the first place that I would look for where social interaction, social conversation, social validation happens. I just don't know that it'll be called social media, but that's just my take.
I see. I guess to summarize what you guys said, like first, Michael, you talk about the different types of users on the internet, right? Maybe some users are very dopamine driven. They want very exciting or entertainment stuff. Some people, they like educational or philosophical contents, while Chris, you brought up the concept about the on-chain identity, which I definitely want us to have some more discussion around that, because I totally agree that this will be a potential exponential growth area for Web3 in the future, because I think even in Web2 world, people, they are trying to form kind of an identity on the internet. And in Web3, I don't know what the platform or which, I guess, channel we're talking about. It could be a metaverse, right? It could be a platform. It could be a protocol. But still, I guess universally, the people, different people will have an on-chain identity on the blockchain. And how that going to be formed along the time by the helps, that is worth discussing.